It is with great pleasure for me to introduce our second speaker, an individual who has a lot of positive names and monikers, one of which is the most important, the Ombudsman of the Republic of Artsakh. But for me, there's also another way to represent him this morning, a survivor of a genocide of the 21st century, Mr. Gegham Stepanyan. Mr. Stepanyan, as I said, the human rights defender of the Republic of Artsakh, was elected as the Ombudsman by the Artsakh Parliament in March of 2021. Assuming office right after the 2020 war, he consistently raised awareness about the extensive breaches of rights of Artsakh people by Azerbaijan. He stands out as one of the unique figures who regularly reported on the ongoing situation directly from the ground to the international community during the blockade. Following the ethnic cleansing and forced deportations carried out by Azerbaijan and Artsakh in 2023, he persists in his efforts while stationed in the Republic of Armenia. His focus remains on advocating for matters on the safeguarding of both individual and collective rights of the people of Artsakh. He holds a master's degree in political science and international affairs from American University of Armenia, and a bachelor's degree in international relations from Yerevan State University. Please join me in having to come to the stage the human rights defender of the Republic of Artsakh, Mr. Gegham Stepanyan.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be here today with you and to speak about the horror, or to speak about the situation that Artsakh people faced just after the war of 2020, and particularly during the 10 months long blockade and during the forced deportation. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the Armenian Bar Association for the invitation and continuous cooperation with the Office of Human Rights Defender of Artsakh. That cooperation has a history of years, and since 2016, it has been institutionalized, leading to many effective and productive results. The Armenian Bar Association has always played a crucial role in the protection of the rights of the people of Artsakh, and we highly appreciate its dedication to our cause. Dear colleagues, I know that you are quite informed about the tragic situation created in Artsakh during the siege by Azerbaijan. Not only are you informed, but thanks to your efforts, both American and international human rights organizations learned about the difficult situation on the ground. As you all know, on 1920 September, Azerbaijan launched another full-scale war on Artsakh under the 10-month-long blockade, deprived of all kinds of supplies and stocks, isolated from motherland Armenia and the rest of the world. This criminal act was the continuation of the systematic genocidal policy led by Azerbaijan since the war of 2020. On September 19, Azerbaijan attacked and we were left alone. Considering its own security problems, the Republic of Armenia did not intervene, and the Russian peacekeepers, who were supposed to maintain peace according to the trilateral statement of November 2020, showed inactivity. The Artsakh Defense Army fought with its limited capabilities, but they were incomparable to the capabilities of the Azerbaijani army. After fighting for 24 hours in order to save the people of Artsakh from physical destruction, the war was stopped by accepting the demands of the Azerbaijani side. As a result, for the first time in 3,000 years, Artsakh is completely ethnically cleansed of its indigenous Armenian population. Coupled with the forced deportation and loss of homeland, the war of 19 September claimed around 500 lives in total. 223 people died as a result of the military aggression, including 21 civilians, 5 of whom were minors. 244 people were wounded, including 80 civilians, 10 of whom were minors. 20 people are still missing. Among them, 5 are civilians. Moreover, there are 20 cases of body mutilation documented by our office. Additionally, due to the chaotic situation on the ground, widespread panic and fear, a devastating explosion of the fuel depot took place on 25 September, claiming 280 lives and leaving 120 wounded. There are 21 persons missing, with 3 bodies still unidentified due to the explosion. Thus, regardless of the constant talks of the international community about the protection of the fundamental human rights of the people of Artsakh, under the fear of genocide and physical destruction, the entire population was forced to leave its homeland, finding refuge in the Republic of Armenia. Unfortunately, the worst-case scenario for us has come to life. Although we talked about it multiple times at different platforms, trying to voice our concerns and warn the world that the chain of criminal acts by Azerbaijan would lead to this exact tragic outcome. Apart from complete occupation of Artsakh, Azerbaijan also illegally detains Artsakh Armenians, acting in a sense of total impunity and permissiveness. This criminal policy includes kidnapping and hostage-taking of innocent people, which goes strictly against the norms and principles of the international law. According to the state propaganda machine of Azerbaijan, there are 23 Armenian POWs in Azerbaijan. However, in reality, there are more than 100 people, including civilians, who are being held unlawfully captive on false charges in Baku, 17 of whom were detained by Azerbaijan in September 2023. 8 among them are both current and former political and military leaders of Artsakh. Second President Arkady Gogasyan, Third President Bako Sahakyan, Fourth President Araik Harutyunyan, Artsakh Parliament Speaker David Ishkhanyan, former State Minister Ruben Vartanyan, former Minister of Defense Lemon Nazhakanyan, former Deputy Minister of Defense David Manukyan, former Foreign Minister David Babayan. Just 2 days ago, Azerbaijan extended its illegal pre-trial detention period of the current and former leaders of Artsakh for another 4 months. Of course, I have to admit with great disappointment that the international community has failed Artsakh and its people. In spite of multiple calls and pledges made by various international actors to protect the rights and security of the people of Artsakh, eventually no concrete action was taken to prevent the genocide of Artsakh people and to bring the perpetrators into accountability. The last that the international community owes to the people of Artsakh now is the condemnation, punishment, and international isolation of Azerbaijan for its crimes. Unfortunately, the genocidal policy of Azerbaijan even continues today. Today we witness the cultural genocide perpetrated by Azerbaijan in broad daylight and in gross violation of its international obligations. Moreover, in the physical absence of the entire Armenian population, those criminal acts, such as the destruction and desecration of the Armenian cultural and religious heritage, will only intensify and multiply with time. The systematic cultural appropriation and Albanization of Armenian culture by Azerbaijan is yet another issue that we have to deal with on the international level. Azerbaijan blatantly denies the access of such international organizations to Artsakh, which only confirms our concerns. It is noteworthy that the US government put Azerbaijan on the watch list of countries with the documented and widespread violations of religious rights. This gives us an opportunity to finally break the stereotype of Azerbaijan as a multicultural and tolerant country in the light of the active destruction or Albanization of Armenian heritage. I'm sure that Azerbaijan will continue actively desecrate and vandalize our cultural heritage in Artsakh in order to finally digest the territory of Artsakh on the principle that there is no Armenian, there is no Armenian trace. And our task should continue to be fighting on all platforms with all possible methods. Today, the vast majority of forcibly displaced Artsakh people are in Armenia. I must also thank our Armenian compatriots, sisters and brothers for the great work and care shown during the days of deportation. This is truly highly commendable. However, forcibly displaced people from Artsakh today are still facing many problems in Armenia, which can generally be classified into several groups: social humanitarian issues, legal status-related issues, psychological discrimination issues, identity preservation, and Artsakh state institution preservation issues. As per the data of the government of Armenia, there are 150,000 forcibly displaced citizens of Artsakh officially registered in Armenia as of January 2024. According to the inquiries received by our office in the recent month, there is a range of common issues raised by the vast majority of the displaced people of Artsakh, such as the absence of housing, absence of minimum living conditions and employment. The financial support received by the people from the government of Armenia is far from being enough to cover their most basic needs, while the job market in Armenia does not have so many jobs opportunities to offer employment to displaced people. Therefore, due to the social vulnerability and the absence of adequate support, there is a risk of growing outflow of the refugees from Armenia. According to various estimates, more than 10,000 Artsakh people have already left the Republic of Armenia. Among the social problems, the most important ones are stable income and housing. Solving these problems will definitely ensure the stay of Artsakh people in Armenia. There is also a lot of problems with regard to the legal status of the people of Artsakh. According to the decree of the government of Armenia of 26 October 2023, the citizens of Artsakh are offered to either accept the citizenship of the Republic of Armenia or to take up the temporary protection that is the refugee status, even despite the fact that we all hold Armenian passports. According to the testimonies of people, the process of receiving the identity document of a refugee takes a lot of time and efforts, while applicants from Artsakh often face discrimination when dealing with the state institutions of Armenia. Overall, due to the absence of proper communication between the government of Armenia and the people of Artsakh, there are still a lot of procedural misunderstandings and gaps, which only add up the sense of insecurity and uncertainty among the displaced population of Artsakh. Another alarming issue is the psychological pressure that Artsakh people continue to experience in Armenia. We have documented discrimination toward the refugees by the Armenian society based on false propaganda, fake news, and social stereotypes. People are often being mocked, offended, and discriminated based on their Artsakh identity. What's even worse, people are being accused for leaving their homeland, which generates a widespread guilt of survival and depression among our people. Unfortunately, if no appropriate action is taken by the government of Armenia, this situation is fraught with further alienation of the refugees who often feel unwanted in the Republic of Armenia. Identity preservation is very important for Artsakh people. Various initiatives are already being implemented to preserve the cultural centers of Artsakh, to ensure the continuous operation of the structures, institutions that preserve the Artsakh identity. Unfortunately, I have to say that the systematic state policy is not implemented in Armenia to preserve Artsakh identity, which is really very important for us. We will try to strengthen our identity protection institutions by various means, including the support of the diaspora, but it would be desirable if it was done with a coordinated state approach. Today, the discussions on the right to return are more and more gaining a momentum among both the refugees from Artsakh and the international community. The leaders of many states have already stressed the need for the return of Armenians to their homeland. However, we believe that for the safe return, as well as peaceful and dignified life of our people in their homeland, there is a number of indisputable conditions to be fulfilled. Firstly, the return under the jurisdiction of Azerbaijan is excluded. So the Azerbaijani armed forces, police and administration must be completely withdrawn from territory of Artsakh. Secondly, the multinational peacekeeping forces should be deployed along the entire border of Artsakh, and a demilitarized zone must be created. The internationally recognized Lachin corridor must be completely transferred under the control or supervision of the UN. A special status should be determined for Artsakh to ensure the conditions for the return of all refugees, the creation of democratic and legal institutions, and the restoration of the economy. The possibility of criminal prosecution of citizens of Artsakh by Azerbaijan on any charges for the entire period of the conflict should be completely excluded, while all the arrested and already convicted Armenians must be released immediately. Dear all, we look to the future with great hope and expectations. The Office of the Human Rights Defender of Artsakh plans to continue working toward the human rights protection of the people of Artsakh, both internally and internationally. It is equally important to ensure the protection of the individual rights within the Republic of Armenia and to defend the collective rights of the people of Artsakh at the international level, making sure our voice is always heard. In this regard, the support from all our partners, including the Armenian Bar Association, is especially essential in these challenging times. Thus, we look forward to continue our cooperation in the future with a renewed vigor. Thank you for your attention.